Hey everybody, it's your guest reviewer JB here for CatSynth TV. Today we're going to be talking about the album Zëss by Magma. Before we get started, I want to ask you to please subscribe to this channel for more cultural content coming out regularly. And please consider underwriting the efforts. There are links to Patreon and Ko-Fi below. That's right, let's dive right into it, man. Zëss by Magma. Little brief overview for those who are not familiar with the wonderful, amazing music of Magma. Magma is a band which was formed in, I believe, 1970, maybe in 1969. We'll get back to you on that. By Christian Vander. Christian Vander, French musician, drummer, composer, vocalist, as well as a keyboardist. Just incredible, amazing person who has created a very particular kind of music, which is, I don't believe he calls it this, but other people have called it Zul. Zul is a word from the invented language Kobayan that Magma uses in his compositions. So not only are these compositions in this invented language, but he has his own very kind of unique musical language, very much influenced by Stravinsky and Karl Orff and Bartok, but really a fusing of that with kind of the extended harmonic language of John Coltrane, and it's quite a wonderful, amazing, unique sound experience. We're going to be talking here about the album Zëss. Now, Zëss came out in 2019. So a couple years ago. We're just now getting around to reviewing it. We wanted to think about this one for a while, ruminate on it, because this is a larger work. So again, this piece actually dates back to 1978, 1979, somewhere around there, and had been performed live between 79 and 83, and then was put away when Magma went on a bit of a hiatus. It was brought back at one point in the 2000s. But this is the first actual studio recording of this piece. I was familiar with this piece from the live performances, which can be seen on, for example, the Magma Live at Bobino 1981 performance. The really bizarre performance they did with the costumes and that kind of thing. Maybe we'll put a little clip of that right here. And also its appearance on the Myths and Legends Epoch 4 DVD that came out. This, however, is a different thing in itself. Let's take a look at the CD here just for a moment. You can see the packaging on this, again, is different from the other Magma CDs that we've seen so far. This one has this book binding, and there's this extensive texts in here. Text not only talking about the composition and the history of the piece, as we can see here, but also the lyrics. What is a little bit different about this particular piece is we have this long prologue in French. Now we know that Magma, as we talked about earlier, uses their own unique proprietary language, Kobayan, but some of the pieces from the later 70s and certainly on the early 80s Magma albums used French. So it's not entirely out of the blue to hear this here. And again, people who have been familiar with the previous live recordings know that there's this extended French prologue. But we have the text for that there, and we also have an English translation of the French text. We can see that here. The Kobayan language bit, however, is not translated into either language. But then again, you know, Kobayan is a celestial language. It's a language of the spheres. It's a language that speaks to not to the intellect, but it speaks to the heart and moves through you into the soul, so on and so on. So for the studio recording, what we have here is something different. We have the rhythm section, if you will, of Magma, in this case, bass, drums, guitar, and piano, and the choral voices over the top, as well as the vocal soloists, Stella Vander, Christian Vander, etc., Hervé Ancan, Isabelle Dubois, all of the names that we know. But we also have the City of Prague Philharmonic on this particular album. It's an orchestral album. We have, rather than the keyboards and vibraphone, the sounds that we've associated as of late with Magma. We have an orchestral arrangement. The music is all composed by Christian Vander, text and music. The orchestral arrangements were done by Rémi Desmoulins, saxophonist who we may be familiar with from some of the Myths and Legends DVDs that were put out in the early 2000s. It's got a different flavor to it. It's got a very expansive palette. It takes some getting used to, because you're used to hearing that very close mic'd, kind of aggressive attack from Magma, and then by nature of using a string section, you have a whole different kind of attack, or attack, if you will. Hey, am I right? Magma joke. You get it? Attack, attack. Hey, okay. Let that one go. But continuing on, it's easy to make the comparisons to Orff or Wagner or the other names that always come up in association with Christian Vander, but you really begin to hear this is really it. This is really coming together. Now, the thing other reviewers have noted in some of the other things I've seen online in relation to this album is, Vander does not play drums on this album. This particular album, we have Morgan Argren, whom you may remember we talked about just recently on the J.G. Thirlwell video, but we have Morgan Argren playing drums on this rather than Christian Vander. But let me just point out that Christian Vander has never played drums on this piece, at least on the live performances that I'm familiar with, because he is the vocal soloist on this. He's got a full plate and, doing these kind of elaborate vocal bits and scat singing type of things out front. You can't do that and play the drums at the same time. Keeping in with the tradition of how this piece has been performed, the drums were farmed out, as you will, to someone else. And he's an amazing drummer, I'm telling you. The one thing is, again, Magma, the extended Magma pieces are all about repetition and that kind of trance-like repetition. It just, and man, you hear it on this one, I'm telling you. This thing just gets going, and it's like, you need to have the patience to sit down and listen to it. And just, again, I said this in relation to the offering music. You need to let this music just wash over you. You need to sit down and you need to absorb it. There's a lot going on, especially with the orchestral arrangement. At times, the writing gets a little dense, let's say that way, with the string section and the brass going. And you need to sit down and listen and process it. All in all, I'm telling you, it's an amazing thing. It's very different. Let me just say that. It's very different from the other Magma albums. It feels a little bit like, because of the packaging and the nature of what some of the texts say, some of the French texts that you see, again, translated in English, you get the feeling that this may be something to sort of cap off the Magma legacy. I could be wrong about this, but this is kind of the impression that I'm getting. So, I would be delighted, of course, if there were more Magma, more new Magma coming out in the future. But at the same time, it feels like this is something that could be very much, something to seal off the legacy. So again, amazing stuff, incredible recording, incredible performance. If you're a Magma fan, you need to check this out. It's not going to appeal to all Magma fans. I know there's a certain subset of Magma fans who just like the aggressive, brutal stuff and felt a little bit let down by some of the lighter moments of Magma. This is definitely more on the lighter, more on the, romantic, if you will, side of Magma's sound. But it's a major work. It just takes a while to understand it. It takes a while to listen to it. It takes a while to let it come into you, let it come into your life. And it's totally rewarding, man. Let me just tell you that.
To find out more about Magma's studio album Zëss, please visit 7threcords.com and check out the description below this video. Thanks for watching. Check out more at www.catsynth.com. And please subscribe to CatSynth TV.
This has been your guest reviewer, JB, here for CatSynth TV. We'll see you soon.